Poor and broke people, and the former, of Reddit. What is a something you only know because you were on hard times? Story 1. How much the stress affects your ability to think and do daily activities. You're just constantly counting dollars in your head, and every chance to do something is, can I afford it? You forget what joy and freedom feel like. Going for job interviews or asking for help is so incredibly difficult. I had no confidence and felt so awful all the time. Having no money wrecks your self-esteem. Also, the library is open all day, has free air conditioning, and activities for kids. I learned a lot about which wild plants are edible too, and had lots of pins on Google Maps of where overhanging fruit trees in my neighborhood were. Story 2. There are places to shower at most beaches. If you aren't around a beach, check for a campground. You can say you only need a day pass to have a picnic, and that's almost always free. Many hotels have ice machines accessible from the outside. Malls are air conditioned or heated depending on the season, and have water fountains to fill water bottles for free. Libraries have no time limits, aside from their business hours. Park and rides are generally safe places for a quick nap if you can't make it to a rest stop. Practically every town in America has a food pantry that offers basic needs at no costs. You just need to locate them. There are clean bathrooms at libraries, malls, hardware stores, clothing outlets, and grocery stores, rather than just your local park or gas station. If you are substance/alcohol free and not pregnant, plasma donation is a useful source of untaxed income that also helps others. Story 3. A few examples. If you can't afford a hotel, don't fall asleep in your car in a gas station parking lot in Texas after driving all night. If it's going to be hot outside that day, woke up to my heart pounding and sweat pouring. If you're on disability and get a job, don't make even slightly over the allotted limit for other income. The government will cut you off and/or want you to pay them back. Then you have to go through the whole process again. Regular sandwich bread is very versatile. Money comes and goes. Try not to stress about the number in the bank account. Easier said than done, especially when it's in the negative. Every bit of spare change matters and adds up faster than you'd think. Success for me is defined by a beating heart. Yes, financially I'm well below the poverty line, but I'm alive. That's what really matters. Story 4. The system is built to penalize you for being poor. Someone once said to me, why don't you buy in bulk to save money? First, you need to pay for the membership. Next, you have to afford the higher cost upfront. Sure, it saves money long term, but that bulk pack of TP is more expensive today than the 6-pack would be. That means I couldn't afford the food I need to buy with this check. Next part is the ability to store the bulk items. Poor people don't have lots of extra space to hold these bulk items. That luxury comes with wealth of space. Another said, why not buy the better quality clothes that last longer? That's because the high quality brands cost a lot of money. So I can buy one pair of shoes that are well over $100 or a pair for $30. When I'm counting my pennies till payday, that $70 means a lot. But those cheap shoes wear down and break much faster than the over $100 pair. So wealthy people can spend more upfront to save money in replacement shoes over the long term. There is a penalty for being poor, and it manifests by having to lose money over time. The system is rigged to penalize the impoverished. There are so many more examples I'm sure others could share. These are just a couple I've encountered. Story 5. 2 packs of ramen, $0.20, and 1 package of hot dogs, at the time $2/$1, can last you a week of dinners. You can do without food for a few days, just drink plenty of water. If you have to decide on a bill to pay, winter, skip power bill, you can always bundle up. This is in Houston, TX, USA, so winters are not usually too cold. Just buy a few bags of ice to keep your freezer cold for the few days the power is out. Hopefully only a few days. You can wash your clothes in the bathtub and hang them to dry. A fan helps them dry faster. I have more. Story 6. It's a shitty way to find out who your friends are. I was making decent money and I like to share with my friends. I tried to never ever go over to a friend's house without bringing something, even if it was just something small, like a dessert item, homemade hot sauce, etc. different job, different income bracket, and radio silence from people I thought I had good relationships with. I don't ask for handouts or anything like that, but now that I don't have anything to give/share, I'm persona non grata with some people. On the plus side, I know who my ride or die friends are, and that means a lot to me. I'm lucky to have a roof over my head and just enough to cover bills each month. Healthcare, on the other hand, is a whole different thread. At any rate, having had a decent life and now not as decent life, I can say that I've learned to appreciate what I have. I still share whatever I have, but I just have less to share and that's okay. Story 7. How hard it is to have a social life. We'd love to go hang with you, but that dinner out, concert, nightclub, or sporting event costs money we really don't have. I can get a 12-pack of beer, a Digiano pizza, and a Redbox DVD for about $25. I can stay in my pajamas and save gas. And your offer of just come, I'll pay for you, only makes us feel worse. Story 8. Learn to sew and knit and cook. I can't buy a Carter's dress, but Hobby Lobby puts a huge discount on fabrics that are too small to be sold. I can make a great princess dress for the 5-year-old because I know how to sew, and it looks new and shiny because it is new. When some part of your cloth rips, there are still good fabric there. That part can be used for inside of a jacket. Amazon boxes can make great doll houses. Some cheap wrapping paper and glue do the trick. If you don't have money for a big birthday, make them the king of the house for that day. Story 9. How to wash clothes in a bathtub because the washing machine's broken and there's no money to fix it. Also how to dry clothing using an oven because the dryer broke and school starts in 40 minutes and 2 of your siblings are out of clean clothes. Going to sleep to get over being hungry is a good way to get through times when you get tired of eating the same thing over and over again and need a break. Bland peanut butter on that awful cheap white bread was something I never liked growing up. Had to deal with it almost every day for about 6 years before things at home got better. I'm happy to not have to go back to eating that stuff all the time. Story 10. Constant incessant dread. The type of fear that keeps you up at night and wakes up with you in the morning. It affects everything you do. Every decision you make is prefaced by thoughts of which provider you'll have to call and how many meals you can eat rice and beans before you just burn out and don't eat for a few days. Dread as to whether it'll always be like this, no matter how hard you try. Because that flat tire or that rent hike eats whatever minuscule amount of money you're saving. Dread that clings to you in the scent of cheap laundry soap and Irish Spring. In being horribly mentally ill and untreated. Dread of what you're going to have to do to make ends meet and have natural gas this winter to heat your house in a northern hemisphere state. Dread that your kids will notice you didn't eat dinner tonight or on every other night this week, so you can send them to school in nice clothes that don't get them teased and bullied like you were. Skipping meals is nothing to give them a better life than you had. Dread that the cycle will not end with you, who dropped out of high school to work and take care of a dying parent. Will your children have to do that? Will they make it through college and break the cycle? Dread that you die of something preventable, like heart disease, from the never-ending stress and subpar food consumption. Most of all, dread of the unknown. The never-ending dread that you're a couple paychecks from being homeless again. From sending your kids to live with grandparents and sleeping in a tent again. From lying to them and telling them everything is alright, that Mom and Pop just wanted to have them over for a few months. Constant. Pervasive dread every minute of every day. No respite, no relief, no real happiness because it's there like a vampire that eats joy. Story 11. When I think of things like this, it makes me think of what in my opinion is one of the most realistic and relatable movie scenes. It is actually from 8 Mile. It is the scene where the mom comes home from grocery shopping and she is excited because she won at bingo and was able to go extra crazy with the shopping that day. Why is this realistic? Because something wealthy people like to say is sacrifice, save, be frugal, blah blah blah. What they don't understand is that a lot of poor working class people already do that. They live without luxury and just hope they can pay to keep the lights on. There are socio-economic and material factors at play that keep them held down. When a poor person comes across a little extra spending money, they spend it. Now you may say, well, they should save it or invest it, but these are usually people who have sacrificed happiness for so long that when even a little opportunity arises, they choose to feel and spread joy, even if it is fleeting. When the mom spent the extra money on groceries that day, she did it to make her family happy and to make them feel just a little secure for the first time in a long time. When you've been poor, you understand this. Story 12. Being poor makes it harder to not make mistakes. You literally can't afford any, and you will be, and or feel, judged mercilessly for all of them. Money is absolutely a problem eraser. When you're broke, you just never get to make anything go away without considerable effort. This wears on you mentally, and you simply cannot operate at your best. You make more errors because of it. On top of that, when close to the edge, something as small as buying a Gatorade becomes an error because you have no margin for it. Human beings simply cannot be flawless at every moment, especially when under constant pressure. These natural flaws are then used to justify why people are in their position. Story 13. If you have bad credit from a DV situation, and say are a single mom addict, if you need a car to get a job, you can qualify for a 26% interest rate on a car that is already priced double the worth. Your payments will be so high, and you can pay 500.00 payments a month for years without even making a dent towards paying off the car. When the car breaks down, you no longer can pay the payments because you cannot get to work. The expensive car was old and used. Loan shark's repo car that you technically paid 3 times over. This takes the credit to a point of no return. They resell car, and this is how the American poor stay poor and the rich get richer. Or housing. Slumlords are looking for women in crisis. Women in crisis are targets, and this has been a fact. Story 14. If your gas light comes on, it doesn't mean you're out of gas. It means you have about 1 gallon of gas left. Until you're completely out, make it count. Don't throw away napkins you get from fast food places. Stick them in a drawer in case you run out of toilet paper. If you have to wash your clothes in the tub, let it soak with the detergent for 10 minutes before you start agitating all the clothes. It's the friction between the clothing and the soapy water that cleans the clothing. If they shut your power off, you will still have hot water to shower and can use the toilet. If you have candles or flashlights to see when it's dark, if you put a candle in a glass jar or cup, it'll illuminate more of the room. Growing up with little money sure is unpleasant. I live pretty good now, and sometimes when I'm grocery shopping I still find myself counting how much every item I put in my basket is, and despite having plenty of money in my checking I still get a few seconds of anxiety when I use my card anywhere before approved pops up. LMAO sticks with you for life. Story 15. That public school doesn't care about poor children. Back in the 90s every field trip was $20. We would have to bring in $10 for some project. My mother simply didn't have the money. We barely had enough money for pairless shoes, but it didn't stop the school from asking for $40 to go to the Sears Tower. Story 16. Experiences and lifestyle are more important than things you can do with a smaller house, an older car, an older phone, etc. Keep your mandatory payments to an absolute minimum so you can actually live your life. I've been various levels of poor. From objectively poor, can't afford to make rent, to subjectively poor, have a place to live but nothing in it. As soon as you make enough money to choose between upgrading your lifestyle to bigger fancier things or staying minimalist and doing more rewarding, experiential things, always choose the experiences. They give your life meaning. Story 17. That I did grow up privileged, and that the wealth we had was due to luck with a side of hard work. Not the other way around. My parents cutting me off financially while giving me every other type of support really showed me that I struggled even though I had everything they said I needed, and I worked my ass off didn't make a difference. I crashed hard. If my parents hadn't allowed to live with them while giving me mental and emotional support, I wouldn't have been able to hold on to get my lucky break. And having awesome parents is also just luck. Poverty is not determined by work ethic. Story 18. How important putting necessities first is. Do you want the new Xbox, or do you want to afford groceries? I survive on 1 meal a day because it's all I can afford. Sometimes it all pisses me off, and I wild out and spend money on something I don't need, and always regret it when I open the fridge and there's next to no food. If you want some luxury, it's not out of the question, but save for it while still putting necessities first. And don't get caught up in payday loans. They will eat you alive. Story 19. If you have the freezer space, the clearance section in the meat department is a great way to stretch a paycheck. Just make sure you inspect it. If it looks or smells off, the date on the package doesn't matter. The grocery store buy me discounts meat well before the use by date to make room for new shipments. There's a similar spot in the produce, deli, and bakery sections. This hack does not apply to dairy or fish. Story 20. It takes a couple of days ESP on weekends for the Target debit card to charge the connected account, so if you're short on cash before payday, get cash and buy your essential stuff at Target. Even then, your bank will just overdraft you and charge you a fee. Also, if you know you're gonna be short before payday, withdraw what cash you have left so you have something to survive with. If you overdraft, the bank is taking it all until money hits your account again. Story 21. The power of a dime. There was a time in my life when I delivered food on bicycle. Basically, I did this over a span of 6 years to pay for rent and food while studying. I was working for a company that didn't pay holidays, didn't pay when you were sick, etc. I wasn't making too bad of a money for the circumstances. Most student jobs are paid poorly anyways. One day, however, everything changed. My bicycle was stolen, and I couldn't work for about 4 weeks until I finally bought a cheap bicycle again, meaning an entire month lack of payment, 1,000 euros. This means I was in debt. I thought to myself, if only I had put aside the tips I got from my clients instead of spending them, I wouldn't be in that kind of trouble now. As I switched company, a company that was paying better money, provided their own bicycles, and paid leave etc, I decided to put aside all the tip money I got a day for 2 years or so. I started keeping notes of the money I earned, about the monthly expenses etc, and put aside every euro I earned through tips, which wasn't always that much, averaging 10 to 20 euros a day. After 2 years or something, the boxes, I had about 5,000 to 6,000 euros of savings in my boxes. I brought them to the bank, was able not only to pay off any debts, but I had still enough money aside for saving etc. Now I work as a teacher and breath a lot easier. I think that was a great lesson learned for me. Be reasonable with your money and don't throw out everything right away again. Story 22. Super glue can get you through a lot. If you don't have money, try butter. You can buy ice with food stamps. If you don't have excess money to spend, you consider every item you purchase with careful consideration. Check local parks. Some gave electrical outlets. You can make coffee or other meals with minute ingredients. Story 23. Most places that serve rice and beans will give you a plate of rice and beans if you ask politely. Pizza shops have to throw pizzas away because they made them wrong from time to time, and if you ask politely and wait by the dumpster, some places will give you the bad pizzas. Donut shops throw away tons of donuts, and you just have to ask politely and they will tell you when they throw the donuts out. Story 24. Your kid's pediatrician office can set you up with a social worker in the building. If you're having a difficult time financially, they'll help you get on WIC, food stamps, get daycare vouchers, and even get you prescription diapers that the county insurance completely covers. They aren't the softest diapers, but they are good if you literally can't afford any. Walgreens, CVS, Target, etc always have deals on diapers and formula. You can get a coupon from the manufacturer site and get them for a huge discount. It just takes a bit more time, printer, and paper to get it all going. Story 25. I grew up extremely poor and was out of the house for good at 15. I learned how to fix things, scrounge for things, repurpose things, how to be frugal, and how to bust my ass when I needed to. I learned to never take anything for granted, whether it was a friendship, a meal, or just a warm quiet place to lay my head for the night. Even now, many years later, I still live like a poor person in some ways. I drive older vehicles that I pay cash for, and I like things to be small and simple. I buy a lot of things used or on Amazon/auction sites. My family is able to afford a lot of things that we otherwise wouldn't because of my ability to do more with less. Story 26. When one is suddenly hit with a tough financial season, other people say, oh, we are broke too, yet they have some savings, retirement, credit cards, equity in their home. Being broke is having none of those and wondering every day how you'll pay rent, gas for the car, and any unexpected repairs going on it, and feeling like a loser, even though you've been working hard since you were 15 years old. People just don't get it. Plus you don't want to burden them with your fears, and it's a very isolating and stressful feeling, and it does affect your body and mental health. When things do get better, there's a residual fear of it all happening again. The other shoe dropping. Story 27. You end up realizing a lot of what people throw themselves into is wasteful expenses. I've never had a new car, personally, and I learned to maintain them on my own. Cheaper to fix an older car than have a car payment. I also learned that keeping up with the Joneses doesn't provide long-lasting serotonin people think it does. I have a 2009 era plasma TV, PS3 and sound system, all free from friends, and you forget after a while that you're behind in the tech sphere. You also get crafty with getting things on free groups on Facebook. Me and my wife have refurbished a lot of large furniture on the cheap. Overall, whatever you buy, wear it the duck out. Use it to its full potential. It'll save you a lot in the long run. Story 28. Nobody and nothing is coming to save you. You have to fight your way out, no matter the odds. So start small and say yes to everything and anything that comes your way. Those are opportunities, which lead to more opportunities, which help you escape where you are. Also, sitting around doing nothing ensures that is where you will be tomorrow. Might be hard to get the ball rolling, but I promise you good things are out there. Story 29. If you need something fixed, get online and figure it out. My water main broke, the plumber wanted 10k to fix it. Ended up spending 120 bucks on PVC and digging a bunch. It's held up for years. Drainage lines got so clogged they had to be replaced. 6k quote $80 for PVC. Radiator on my truck cracked, 1200 quote 150 for the radiator and some busted knuckles. I can make a meal with just about anything. Story 30. If you're a high school student, find out if your high school has free food programs. Apart from the usual free lunch program, they might have other ways to get free food. For example, my school randomly had a free bread program every Tuesday and Thursday that nobody knew about or used. It wasn't even for poor people. All you had to do was sign up, and you could grab 2 or 3 loaves of bread each time. It was a random program that was funded by the district and nobody knew about it. Sounds dumb, but bringing home a bunch of free bread goes a long way in terms of making meals. Story 31. I still enjoy a lot of the cheap food we used to eat as kids, and ways my mom had to make food go further. I ate baked beans on toast yesterday evening, and it was amazing. We're all doing well now, but my sisters and I will sometimes reminisce about jam sandwiches or cornflakes with warm milk, or my mom dividing a small bag of potato crisps into separate bowls. These were all treats for us. My own kids eat branded cereal and mango and smoked salmon, but every now and then I serve them up chip sandwiches or egg fried rice, and they always love it. I'm also an absolute wizard at pulling a meal together from random stuff in the freezer and store cupboard. Story 32. How to learn to ask for and accept help. It's absolutely okay to ask for help if you are in a rough spot, and it's also more than okay to accept help from anyone who offers it. You don't have to power through your problems alone. It can be very hard to ask for help or favors, but it can make your life a lot easier. An offer to cover a meal, a ride to an appointment, hand-me-down furniture, etc. can be lifesavers. Learn to accept help and give thanks. When things get better, you can always repay in any ways that you see fit. Story 33. A lot of churches will offer free breakfast very early in the morning if they are near a bus stop where many people catch a bus to work. Also, after a food festival or stuff like that, when the stalls are about to close, many will sell their stuff for very low prices or just give them away for free. Oh, and you can eat quite a lot if you move through the stalls that let you try out a bite of what they're offering for free. Story 34. Now I finally have stability and some savings, but my first year as an immigrant was miserable. I almost ended up living in the street twice, and I lost almost 10 kilograms. Some of the things I learned were that buying a rice 10 kilogram bag can save you from starving if things get ugly. that supermarkets in my current residence country sell food at half price a day before it gets bad. You should do shopping as soon as the supermarket opens because you will have to compete with other broke people for it. When you're running very short on money, be careful who you tell. I commented it to a neighbor who seemed like a cool guy. He told me he knew someone who needed people to move things in the city and the pay was good. He didn't get into details, but I know it involved drugs. I was so desperate that I really considered getting into it. Beware of scams. A company called me for a job interview. When I got to their offices they told me they could get me a job, but first I had to take one of his courses or I wouldn't be allowed to work in the country, which was a lie. The course price was £600, about $700 US. Apparently there are plenty of scams like that oriented to immigrants looking for a job. Non-qualified work environment tends to be actually better. When I was taking low on unqualified job positions, everything felt more free and people were more friendly. Maybe because everyone there were in a similar situation. Story 35. Personally, being relatively low income for most of my life kind of gives me a sense of comfort and safety now that I'm making decent money. Nowadays, I spend way more on stuff like food than I need to, but I also realize that, in a pinch, I can get by on virtually nothing if I need to. I have a healthy appreciation for the finer things, but I'm also extremely adaptable and can tolerate harsh conditions without flinching. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more daily videos.